Hey everyone, a really warm welcome back. It's wonderful to have you here, especially if you're new. A very warm welcome to the channel. My name is Becky and I'm the mom on a mission mentioned in the title of the channel itself. And I mostly tow on my own, taking my two boys off on little mini adventures all around the UK and hopefully eventually a bit further afield. But when I'm towing on my own, you know, one of the key things I want is a really boring journey. You know, I don't want any eventualities, any disasters to have to deal with on the road, minor or major. Of course, I've got made a breakdown cover if we do have a major problem, but I'm a great believer in just little bits of effort, saving a huge amount of hassle in the long run. And so that's why today's video is all about these things, the TyrePal tyre monitoring system. And I want to first of all take you back about a year or so, where I'll show you how I got them fitted and how that went. And then at the end of the video, I'll come back and let you know how we got on. So let's get into it. Everybody ready? Good. Then let's get going. Nearly forgot you guys. Okay, well, what is this system? Let's have a look. So, number one, instructions and some button cell batteries. Looks like the monitor itself. I've gone for the 12-volt rechargeable one. There was a solar one on offer, but I've had an awful lot of trouble with mini solar panels recently, you know, garden lighting and that stuff. I'm sure that would have been better, but I don't trust them. You know, I'd rather have a plug-in one. Looks like some rubber boots. I think these things are to keep the weather out of the sensors. But I'll read the instructions in a minute and then we'll find out. The sensors themselves. I've got no sort of monitoring thing on the car. And this was on a sale, actually a Caravan and Motorhome Club discount special sale thing. So I splashed out on the 6 sensor version rather than just going for the 2 for the Caravan. This looks like the mounting bracket for the display. And then there's something else. Oh, maybe a cap for unscrewing the sensors. To get the batteries into them. And some O-rings. And some nuts. Okay, a bit of metal. Maybe that's for the permanent mount. And a power lead and a spanner. Right, so that's everything. Okay. Okay, so I've read through a bit of the instructions. Well, I've skimmed read the instructions. And anyway, the first thing to do is install the batteries. So let's get on and do that for the car ones. Right, I've got 5 more of these to do, so back in a mo. And that's that done. Okay, let's get these rubber covers out. And let's get outside and get this lot installed. I'm going to do the car first. We're off on a break tomorrow, so I need to pump up the tyres to the fully loaded setting. Right, that is up to pressure. So now the instructions say turn the boot inside out. And then wind the nut on. And then switch the controller unit on, press and hold the control until it beeps, and yes! Don't you just love it when it actually does what it's supposed to do? Right, now scroll through the highlighted wheel positions to the correct one. Now I should be able to screw the sensor on like a cap, so screw it on in the same way as the dust cap. Then as the sensor gets activated by a tiny whoosh of air, hopefully it should pair itself. Woohoo! Look! Well, listen, actually, not look. It beeped. That means it's paired. Nice. Oh, I look like a pro presenting these sort of videos now. Anyway, this thing has done what it's supposed to do. It beeped to show it's in pairing mode. Alright, so 3 more of these to do on the car and then 2 on the caravan. Now let's hold this here so you can see what's going on. Then the locking wheel nuts need tightening back on to stop everything from moving around. Just finger tight, I think, not wrenching anything. And then the rubber weatherproofing boot pulled back over the top. Then once they're all paired, press and hold the control button and it should... Yes! Okay, we're back in use mode and out of pairing mode. Now let's just check that they cycle round and that everything's picked up okay. The rear driver's side doesn't appear to be on here. Maybe that hasn't paired properly, so let's go and try that one again. Now what was it? Hold control down, back to pairing mode. Toggle through the wheel positions using plus and minus. Undo and redo the sensor. Still not detecting it. Oh, now it finds it. Good. Okay, I guess that one just needed a bit more of an air whoosh to wake it up. So let's check all of this again. And of course, in all that faffing, I've lost 4 psi. So I'll just re-pump up this tyre and then we'll get to do the caravan ones. Okay, one last check. And of course, all the other sensors have nodded off now, but at least they appear to be there on the readout. Now it's movement that switches these on, and I'm not wasting the car battery by driving up and down around the block just to turn the sensors on, so let's try a gentle flick. Okay, that seems to have sorted it. So I'll just get these locking wheel nuts gently tightened back on and all the boots covered over. And then actually I'll get the head unit sorted out while I'm here, and then the car's all done, and then I'll move on and do the caravan ones. Right, so backing out of the sun for a minute. Got two options here for mounting the head unit, and it's a sort of permanent mount that looks like you stick on the dashboard, or a suction cup. I'm going with a suction cup, because after all I'm towing with a Volvo that is usually Mike's day car, and he does not like having all this screen clutter apparently. So this is only allowed in here when I'm towing. And once lined up, okay, that's easy. Click nice into place. Yep, seems nice and stable. Right, let's get these spares out of the way before somebody moans at me for leaving stuff all over the dining table. And then we'll go and sort the caravan ones. Right, double check the caravan pressures. This one is perfect already. Great. Incidentally, this job is quite fiddly, even for my fairly small and fairly dexterous fingers. So if you're a bit hand-fisted, you might want to get someone to give you a hand, and preferably someone that doesn't mind getting a bit mucky, because of course road wheels are covered in all sorts of yuck. Actually, I also read the instructions a minute ago properly. And look, this is what you're actually supposed to do with that disc thing. That's for undoing and doing up the sensors. It doesn't make too much of a difference to me because, as I said, my fingers are fairly well suited to handling these small things. But I think it would be really helpful for any less dexterous folks. So that's great. Right, rubber boot inside out. Locking wheel nut on. Okay, the other side, and then we're done. So if it doesn't pair first time, just unscrew and rescrew the sensor, and hopefully it won't have lost too much pressure like what happened on the car. Then that should do it. And yes, it really is that warm out here. Right, last nut and boot on, and then it's done. Hey everyone, it's about a month later, a month since I filmed the installing footage for the TyrePals, and so we're off again tomorrow, so I need to recheck the pressures. I've tried the trick of gently flicking on the sensor to get it to come on so I can check from the head unit, being lazy, but that didn't work, so I've got to do it properly. And for these tyres, these are the caravan tyres, the valve stem isn't very long actually, so I can't get the inflator connector onto the metal part of the tyre valve properly with the locking nuts in position, even with them wound back as far as they'll go. So they've got to come off, which is a real pain actually. And I need to get this wheel clamp out of the way as well. Right, let's have a look. Oh, 54, so only 1 psi off, but I'm connected now, so I might as well get it back up to 55. So this tyre pump thing has preset cutouts, so I'll set it to 55 and it'll go up to 55 and just past that and then automatically stop, so that by the time you've lost that little bit of air puffing out as you get the connector off, then you're still at 55. Okay, then it's boot back on, nut on, sensor on, nut tighten and boot over. So just to finish off the video, let me share my workaround for checking the caravan's tyre pressures. As you know, the sensors wake up on movement and a gentle flick doesn't always do it. Plus, I don't want to damage the valve stem of the tyre by doing that anyway. So my workaround is that by the time I've motor movered the caravan off the drive, it's not possible to drive it off, and down the drop curb outside the house, then that's usually just enough movement to get them activated and I can check them on the sensor rather than having to use a gauge specifically. If not, I tow 50 yards down the street, and if needs be, then there's just about enough room, luckily, in our road, it's quite quiet, that I can just inflate the tyres there. It's a bit of a faff, but it's better than having to take the sensor off and the nut and so on, because the valve stem's not long enough. That allows me to have those two things both on at the same time as the connector for the inflator. Alright, so we're back in autumn of 2020, and that was how I got on fitting the TyrePals themselves. So how have we got on since then? Well, on the plus side, I really like knowing what's going on with the tyres. To get that bit of extra feedback is just a little bit of extra reassurance that you know what's going on with the caravan. I've seen images of big blowouts on the caravans and so on. And the experts, the people that know, say that it's not really a sudden blowout that usually happens. Usually there's a problem building and building, but of course the driver has no idea the problem's building, because the feedback you get from the caravan tyres is very little, because all that feel that you might get in a car, if it were a car tyre that were feeling a bit dodgy, or were losing pressure, or was getting particularly hot, you just don't get it, because the connection of the caravan is just through the tow hitch of the car itself. So really, really great to know what's going on directly back. I did consider getting tie-on bands, so those are the metal bands that go on the wheel rim itself, and they stop the tyre coming off if you do have a blowout, so it holds the tyre on, which makes the whole event a lot safer itself. But I decided not to go with them because I don't get the feedback of an impending problem with the tyre itself, so that's one positive for the TyrePals themselves. And I'd rather prevent a problem before it can occur. So that's one in favour of the TyrePals. You know, the tie-ons look really great if you've got a motorhome, or you're, I don't know, driving in high-speed chases or something like that. But for this slow little wagon, I think the TyrePal is definitely the best solution. You know, maybe if I were being super belt and braces, then I'd have tie-ons as well. But I think I'm happy with what we've got for now. So the really interesting thing I've noticed actually is these are the original tyres, and these seem really good. You know, they hold their pressure incredibly well. But as you're driving down the road, it's amazing how much the temperature goes up and the pressure goes up in the tyres itself, and the difference that it makes having the sun on one side of the caravan to the other. You know, it's fascinating to watch the numbers go up and down while obviously paying attention to what's going on the road. Okay, now the downsides. Mike actually was really happy when I took them off the Volvo, because the valve stems on the tyres on those massive R-Design sports wheels were very long, so he was a bit worried about the sensor sticking out and waggling around like the end of a lollipop, and maybe causing excess stress on the tyre valve stem. Personally, I don't think it was all that bad, but I think there is something underlying those sort of worries, certainly with the design of that particular wheel. So when I switched from towing with the Volvo to towing with the T6 Caravel, I moved the TPMS over onto the Caravel. It does have a tyre pressure system on it, not one that tells you the exact pressures, just one that tells you you've got a bit of a problem. So if your tyre is deflating, it will give you a warning light, but not tell you exactly what's going on. But I've got exactly the same problem on the Caravel that I have on the Caravan here. Because the stem is not quite long enough, it's impossible to actually just take the sensor off and then check the pressure there. You've actually got to take the nut fully off, and it actually is worse on the Caravel itself. So that's a bit of a pain, because it means actually checking the pressures in the normal way is really difficult. So it's much easier, I think, as I said at the end of the fitting video when I just developed a workaround, that what I've taken to doing is just driving the caravan a little bit down the street so I can check what the pressures are, and then doing all the pumping at that point, rather than, for example, the day before we set off. Anyway, so that's it for today. So yes, it is a little bit of faff to have the system on and be using them, but you know, a little bit of faff saves a whole load of potential hassle later on. So for me, it's definitely a very positive experience. Anyway, I hope the video was useful. Please do give it a thumbs up if it was, and I'd be very grateful if you'd subscribe, actually, because according to the stats, about 75% of people watching the videos aren't subscribed at all. So it would be great to have you along and joining the tribe. Anyway, that's all from me for today, so bye for now. See you next time. Bye.